Okay, so in this video now we're going to finish it up, and this is the final stretch. Make sure that your virtual environment's activated in the right directory with your code editor open. And now we're going to dive right in, and next we're going to add the update ability. So at the top we have to import update view, and then we can just copy this create view, recipe create view. So highlight it, shift alt down arrow, and space it out a little bit, and it's basically the same. We just need to update it to use the update view, and the rest of it is about the same. Save that, and then we can go into the view, or the URL, the URL, and we can duplicate the detail view and move that down. And now we'll just add /update to the end, and then this view should be the recipe update view, which we forgot to name. So we'll say recipes -update, and we have to go back in the view, and we didn't change the name recipe create view. This second one here should be recipe update view. Save that, and we can run the server. Python manage.py run server, and we can pull up /recipe/1/update, and we'll say updated, and we'll click save. And awesome, it updates. It uses that same HTML template as the create, so recipe_form.html, which is amazing. If we cancel, we can go back home, we can view the recipe. Awesome. The next thing we're going to add for this update view, though, is that we only want users to be able to update their own recipes, right? If you go into an app, you're not just going to edit anybody's posts or anybody's recipes. You only edit the ones that you make. So go back into the code, and we'll have to import another mixin, and this will be user passes test mixin. So we can kind of create a custom test, and we will go into the recipe update view, and we will create a method, a function, test_func, that takes self, and recipe equals self.get object, so we can just get the current recipe. And then we can return, well, we want to check if the self.request.user, so this is the logged in user, if they equal the recipe.author. So here we're getting the object that is being returned for this specific view. So that's that specific recipe. And then we're returning true if the logged in user, so the request user, is the author of this recipe, and false if not. And so this test func, which we have to actually pass in here, user passes text mixin. Now if it returns true, then it will work, and if it returns false, then it will not work. So we can save this, go back to the code, go back home. I'm signed in as DJVAC, so we can try and go to view recipe. This is recipe number 3/update, and it's a 403 forbidden, so I'm not able to access that page. So perfect. And now we're going to add the delete functionality, the delete view. So if we go back into the code, we can basically copy the update view. So shift alt down arrow to copy it, and then add a little spacing, and we could say we have to go back to the top, and this is just called the delete view. And then we have to rename this recipe delete view, and we'll keep this here. We only want logged in users. We only want the user that is the owner of that author of that recipe to be able to delete it. And then we need the delete view class. We don't need fields, but what we need is the success URL. So after it's been deleted, where should we go? And we're going to use something called reverse lazy, and we can just pass in the name of the URL, and we'll just go recipes-home, and we need to import this reverse lazy. And so we'll import that from Django.urls import reverse lazy. And we also don't need this form valid. So we can go ahead and save that. Now we can connect up the URL. So we go into the URLs and we can copy this update URL and just change this to delete. Change this to recipe delete view, and name is recipes delete. And now for this one, we do need to create a template. And so this naming convention is under templates, recipes, create a new file, and it's called recipe_confirm delete. So .html. So the model _confirm delete.html. And we're actually going to grab recipe form and just copy this over because it is actually a form. So it's a basically confirm delete form. And we'll change this here and we'll say, are you sure you want to delete? And it gets an object. It gets that recipe object passed in as object. So we'll pass that in and we'll remove this border bottom just for styling's sake. And then we'll change this input here, the value to be delete. And we'll change the class to be danger instead of primary. So it's red. And I think that should work. So now if we want to go try that out, we can go back into the app and we can go /recipes/1/delete. Page not found. Okay, let's see. We have recipes. Oh, it's recipe. So I put that extra S, and it's nice that you get this page not found info when it debug equals true. So if you turned it debug to false, then it would just show you a normal 404. But while you're debugging, this is nice so you can actually see your routes. So we'll go here, and this is, are you sure you wanted to delete the chicken piccata updated? We click delete. Boom, it takes us home and it's deleted. Perfect. So let's go back to the code. And so the last thing to add now is to just update the UI, the interface, so that we can reach these pages, we can update and delete things. So I think the recipe detail page is a good place to have those links. So we'll go to the very bottom div, so outside of this card, and we'll create a new div, and we'll add a class to it, some bootstrap col-4, so it takes up 4 columns, and then we'll add an anchor tag, and this one will be an update button, and it will link to the URL of recipes/update, and we're going to pass in the object.id, and then we'll close up that tag, and we'll add a little bit of styling. So we'll say class equals btn to make it look like a button, btn outline info, and then we can just duplicate this. So shift alt down arrow, and we will make this one be delete. So we just have to change this to recipes delete, still passing the object.id, and instead of info we'll do danger. And now I think that should work. The only thing that we want is, right now this will display on every single template, regardless if the user is actually the author and if they're logged in or not. And remember, we only want the actual author to be able to update or delete a recipe. So we'll wrap all of this in a tag to check if object.author. So if the author of this recipe equals the user that gets passed in, or so we can chain conditionals, or user dot is _staff, which is a field on the built-in Django user. And when we created that super user, it got is staff. So if you're a super user, you should be able to update or delete or kind of manage any recipe or anything. And so we opened up that if block. Now we have to go down here and add that closing tag, so end if. And I think that should be good. Now if we go back to the app and we view a recipe, this is by us, so we get the update and delete, and if we click update, it takes us to update. Now if we log out and we go home and we view the recipe, we don't see anything. Amazing, and we can try and log in. I believe there's a test user, so if you haven't created a test user, you can go into the admin and create one, and wow, first try. Look at that. Now if we view this recipe, which isn't by us, we also don't see anything. But I believe there is see this recipe right here was created by us, this test user, and we can see the update and delete. We can delete them. Beautiful. So let's go back. There's only one more update we need to perform. And that last update is adding the create to the main menu. So this, right now we can update and delete things, but we have no way of adding a new recipe. So we'll go into the recipes template base, and we will go under where we see the nav bar. And so right up here, there's this about link. We'll just take this whole LI, this list item, and shift alt down to duplicate it. And we'll say create recipe or add recipe. And this will go to recipes/create. And that's perfect. That works. Now if we go back to the app and we refresh, we see add recipe. We can add another recipe, new recipe, assemble ingredients, save that. New recipe, we can update or delete it. We can update it and we can say new title, do more stuff, save it, it's updated, go home, view all the recipes, view our profile, so we can see, should be able to see our profile, test, and our username test. Perfect. We can view this recipe we created, delete it, view this recipe that we didn't create, so we can just view it and not update it. And that's amazing. So we've built this fully functioning web app. These are the basic kind of functions that you would see in most websites and most web apps out there. So from here, you can take this knowledge and build it and adjust it to make your own project or your own kind of startup or idea. And I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe for more videos. I'm going to be putting out a lot more content on Django, Django REST framework, probably React, JavaScript next, stuff like that. So stay tuned for the next video, and happy programming.